Hello, everybody. It's Dre Van Lun, owner of A Vision Lived Coaching and Consultant, and I'm here with Gilbert Richards. Oh, sorry, Dr. Gilbert V. Richards. He's one of my long-term clients, and we've just hit a milestone. And he's an entrepreneur. He's a powerful man of God. He's a leader in his home. He's a leader at work. He's a leader everywhere. And I just want to really talk about his story and the transformation that he's made in multiple areas of life. So with that said, how you feeling today, Gilbert? What's
I
good?
feel great. I feel great. I feel healthy. I'm excited for the new year.
Mm,
The work we've done has really laid a foundation that for the first time, January is exciting.
mm.
January always used to be like a recovery month of pain after the holidays.
Yeah,
So I'm excited for what's moving forward. I'm excited for to see my vision come to fruition. I'm already seeing it move. So it's a good life right now.
nice. Love it. And one of the things is that the upswing is intentional. So
Mhm.
I think one of the first things that I shared with, well, that you and I worked on is that every single tangible is preceded by an intangible outcome. So you sent me a tangible text, and
Yeah.
it wasn't even a text; it was more like a phone call because you shocked yourself with this outcome. So what was the intangible that made you call and leave me a message? And then I want you to get into what is the intangible underneath that outcome.
Whew. Well, okay. Um, the intangible, well, the thought process was we had been working on as I got to the point to where I stopped being motivated by trauma, like the trauma response ended. And I got to that clean slate and we started rebuilding, okay, what's the vision for my life? We did that exercise for 30 days where I had to say all these affirmations. I'm
Yeah.
fit and ripped now. And, all these things that for 30 days. And I internalized it to the point, and I said that one specifically because my mind started operating outside. So what ended up happening is in 2019, 2020, I got up to 468 pounds.
Mm,
I had heavy insulin resistance. This was a combination of treating my severe eczema with prednisone, and the prednisone causing insulin resistance, and then the obesity causing a massive testosterone depletion.
mm,
So my testosterone was about 255 as a
mhm,
grown as a man at this time. I'm thinking of 41, 42. That's literally a menopausal man. You can't create children, you can't really build muscle tissue. And I've
mm,
been in the gym grinding, I'm dieting, nothing's happened. And so when we went through this process, I'd already started working on my body. I already started making some improvements.
mhm.
But when I was at 468 pounds, I mean, I couldn't stand long. I mean, I could leg press 1,000 pounds or more than that, but I couldn't hold on my joints that kind of weight. My
Mm,
back was in pain. I couldn't really do things I'd enjoy because I would be exhausted and sleepy. Got sleep apnea, all these health issues. And
yeah.
so I basically became, someone who sat on the couch, worked, went to church, home, stuffed my face with unhealthy food, then would diet like crazy, train like crazy, maybe lose 10 pounds, nothing would happen, rinse, recycle, repeat.
Mm,
So when we started doing our work and I started understanding this part where we retrained my mind
yeah.
to put myself in the mind state of who I was going to be,
Brand new
um,
self-image.
it was weird. Let me tell you why it's weird. So one of my affirmations for my fitness was I'm fit and ripped and healthy now. I didn't realize how much that wired my subconscious because when I get up, I have to go to the gym. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's
Mm,
not a thing that I'm exhausted. I'm not neither motivated or inspired. It's who I
it's
am.
who you are.
And so certain things start happening with that. Like when I didn't see results, my wife, she did alternative ADF, alternative day fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And she found it because she's diabetic, but she's controlled it with diet, but her weight never moved. So she said, I'm going to try it. She tries it June 1st. By the time we hit October, she has dropped 45 pounds.
Mm.
She's dropped 50 pounds, and she is only 8 pounds heavier than when I met her back in 2008.
Wow.
And so I'm like, right around October, I said, you know what? I need something that works because I understood like going to plant-based didn't work, keto didn't work, you
Mm.
know, all of these different things didn't work. And I understood macros, I understood calorie count, protein. So
Yeah.
none of this is working. And then we had a talk a couple months prior to that. It's like, it may be just toxins. I started with 2 days. When I started with 2 days, I dropped an additional 38 pounds in 60 days.
Mm.
I kicked it up in December, no, at the end of December, beginning of January to 3 days. When I kicked up to 3 days, I lost another 15 pounds from the 38 pounds I lost.
Wow.
But the best part about it was 95% fat.
Nice. The
And
best kind of
because,
weight to lose, by the
yeah,
way.
and because I understood macros, because I understood dieting, I took a measure of my TDEE based on my workout schedule and my basic metabolic rate, added them together, divided them into two, because that's what my wife was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that way I still keep the muscle, but and I have enough calories to where not attacking the muscle. Like I've been wanting to hit cardio hard. I haven't even had to hit cardio hard because my heart rate staying between 125 and 140 while I'm lifting. And
Mm-hmm.
then with the ADF getting rid of all these toxins, like my A1C went from 6.7 to 5.7 to like 4.8. So
Mm.
anybody knows diabetic, that's like awesome. Once you get
Yeah.
under 5.8, you're out of pre-diabetic, all of that. My fasting blood sugar is like in the 60s.
Nice.
So my eyesight's gotten better.
Yeah. So
And
tell
I
people what the transformation. Well, give your overall pound loss first.
Mhm. So my overall pound loss was 100 pounds.
Nice. 100
I'm right
pounds
now like,
down.
yeah, now I'm like a 101.3, but yeah, 100
Nice.
pounds lost.
And
And
and you said it's a result of a shift in your self-image, right?
a major shift in self-image, but also a result in how I respond to adversity, how I respond
Mm.
to situations. So
Huge. That is so huge. Your
yeah,
response to adversity can transform your life, not only your mental anxiety, which a
hmm
lot of people hold the anxiety. Remember the anxiety leads to a cascade of hormones
yeah,
that make you
yeah,
retain body fat. And then that body fat makes you retain the toxins. And so now you're into this whole entire loop of fat, toxins, sluggishness,
hmm
things like eczema, everything you described, all of that stuff comes in. And so once you get rid of that first lever, the first lever, which is the first
hmm
domino, which is stress happened. How do I
hmm
handle it? To, oh, this is a stressful thing. I'm an infinite being. I know I can handle it. What's next? Then you don't have the cascade of hormones. And so now the thing that you're using to lose weight actually starts working.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny that you say that because stress and anxiety before work like this. Oh my God, now stress gets 80 to 90% of my energy.
Mm.
And worrying about it is taking up 90% of that 90%.
And so you got 10 to deal with the solution.
Yeah. And so I'm tend to deal with the solution. So of course the anxiety is growing.
Yep.
Now when something bad or concerning happens, I'm like, okay, I see you. I'm gonna put you over here. I'm gonna give you
Mm.
about 20%. And then I focus harder on my vision
Right.
because I understand my vision is what's going to bring me out of my adversity. And
Yep.
then the
The
more
only
I
thing.
yeah, and the interesting thing has been the more I've been doing that. I mean, I'm a pastor. I own a consulting company. I own a real estate lending branch. the more I do that,
Mm-hmm.
the easier adversity has become. Like,
Mm-hmm.
especially like I think it was our last session, and they'll have to buy it, but you taught the 4 great barriers of
Yep.
success. Like they have to, y'all need to sign up with Gray to find out about that. But those 4 antidotes
Yeah, the
are
antidotes.
amazing. And what I realize now, so when stuff happens, it's like, okay, bad stuff's going to happen, but bad stuff doesn't interrupt the process. So because here was my old coping mechanism. My old coping mechanism was excess, meaning food, alcohol, sex, um, getting detached, like drawing away from my problem
Yep.
into spaces and pretending it didn't happen. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got this false sense of confidence that I could do anything, because when the problem can no longer be ignored, now 90% of my energy is focused on the solution, not knowing that if I focused on the solution in the beginning instead of the problem, it
Yep.
would have been already solved. And I didn't know that that was the case, because I don't want to say I was getting high, but it was a dopamine release.
It's
But I was,
dopamine.
but I was focusing more on not dealing with the feeling of stress
Mm-hmm.
than solving the issue of stress. So now it's like I know I have a space in the universe where I'm creating and going to achieve. And I know there's going to be adversity in that universe. I know there's going to be challenges in that universe. But now I also realize I can manifest anything in my sphere. I mean, the hardest thing for me is, what exactly do I want when I know I can have anything?
To get super focused, right? When you
Yeah,
know you can have it all, when you know you can create it all, then that's the best problem to have. That's the
yeah.
best problem to have is like, okay, I could do all of this now. Now I want this. I want this specific thing. So,
Yes.
and it manifested in a ton of weight loss. Like, you see how that lack of going into the numbness. And
Mhm.
there's a distinction that we did, a 5-step process that we did for handling.
Oh, I got it.
Yep.
Somewhere here.
But look, we're not gonna give everything all
No,
the
no, no, they gotta
technology
buy
away.
that too.
So, right, when it
Mhm.
comes down to dealing with that thing, we called it erasing the dry erase board, getting rid of the dry erase board. So you live in the pain, you live in the adversity. But then I'll give them this. You set an expiration date for
Yes.
in that. So when you set that expiration date, now you can move on. Oh, so this is all about energy management. What he described was numbing and buffering, which guess what? We all numb and buffer. All of
Hmm.
us numb and buffer, whether it be with food, whether it be with drinking, whether it be with some people numb and buffer with travel. They're always
Hmm.
going somewhere. They never stay still. So they can't
Hmm.
really deal with anything. And then the house of cards falls down when they got to stay in one place for too long.
Like Brady. Right. That's why Brady ran. He got it home, and he couldn't hang, and he's like, I want to go back, because being at home and
Being
stationary.
at home was Tom Brady you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We see it in our pro athletes. We see it in everybody. We see it in a lot of high performers because at the end of the day, you really can't run from yourself.
Mm-mm.
Um, Dang, is there any other thing you've given like so many gems to think on for
Well,
people?
there is one thing,
Yeah,
and this,
share something good and chewy for them.
so like I started back in 2000. This my beginning of my second year. Started back in 2021 in the introductory program, and one of the things that I learned in that program was the shedding and dealing with your trauma.
Mhm.
I will say the key thing to achieving my goal was understanding how it impacts me and how I've been responding.
Mhm.
Because you'll have a pattern, you'll have a method, and to where a lot of us keep trying to achieve and be successful doing the same thing, and it's not working. Where I found that once I started dealing with, and I think Dre called it catching a body, letting
Yep.
certain parts of you die.
Yep.
I'll give you a prime example. There was a time This happened last summer, and my wife was making the transition from her career as an accountant to a realtor, and of course, she kind of dropped that on me a little bit in a rush time, and and the job was killing her health wise, and so I agree, but then it put all this financial pressure, and I was like, okay, I gotta pay Dre, I gotta pay do this, I gotta invest in myself, but I got all these extra bills now because she is self-employed, doesn't have a regular check.
Because the transition, yep.
Yeah, and I remember sending that check to Dre because old me was like, I need to do this, I need to do that, keep this, I need to cut this expense off, I need to do this because this is too expensive, I can't afford it. Something in my brain said, you cannot afford to cut this training off. And so I paid it. And at first I was like, pardon me, folks, I was like, shit, this is a lot of money.
Yeah.
But that the next session we did probably is more responsible for the 100 pounds I lost than any other session we did. Nice. And it helped equip me with the tools to make things. And what happened was that was one of my deep trauma responses that I let go.
You know, can you verbalize what your natural trauma response was? Because I think a lot of people have the same one.
My natural trauma response was to cut out everything, detach from everything, and basically focus on whatever the major survival problems were. So I cut off my gym, I cut off my diet, I cut off my social network, I cut off all the things that I paid for that would pour into me, that would make me feel good. I would cut off to the bare minimum to survive.
That hit me in the heart because I've been there before. That when things seem like it's shrinking in, you feed everybody else and you stop feeding yourself. Oh, and then, I know whoever's watching this can identify with that.
And it creates a pattern.
It creates a terrible pattern. And you won't see it. You won't see it until somebody else points it out. And they'll be like, oh, this is why you keep falling off the mountain. Why you keep getting really high on the mountain and you keep falling off. It's because you say, I'm going to turn my legs off. I'm going to help this person climb over my back to get up the mountain, but I'm going to take my own legs off and I'm going to throw my gear down so somebody else could use it.
Yeah. I mean, I had to, when we first started this coaching, I had to have a hard look at myself. I was making $200,000 a year as young as 22 years old in the lending business. My family was in it. They taught me. I was really good at it. And I looked at what I knew and everything I knew before the big meltdown in 08 and all that. And I said, I should have been a millionaire. If I had the discipline and understanding and the vision I had now, I'd be a multi-millionaire now. But instead, I still lived that same pattern even when I was successful. So when I was successful, I had the patterns of a survivor. So I always put myself in a surviving position.
And you mean financially successful?
Yeah, I was financially, not emotionally, not mentally, not relationships.
The other ways, right. So now that you got the other parts caught up, then everything can rise.
Yeah.
Because now you have the blueprint for being overall successful, which means, hey, never drop yourself. Never drop yourself. Never neglect yourself. Never abandon or detach from yourself and from what makes you whole. Never. That right there is a big lesson.
Can I add one more thing to that?
Sure.
I know we're trying to keep to a certain time, but
yeah,
one of the things that I had to learn too, and this applies to the ladies, but this is really for the brothers, especially if you're married.
Okay.
I suffered under the illusion that it was my partner's responsibility to make me happy. That at least she was responsible for 50, 60% of my happiness. I put the weight on her. Now, it is both of our responsibilities to have a happy marriage and have a vision for our marriage. But what I did not realize was that my happiness was my responsibility.
100%.
And that it's my job to pour into myself what I need. And none of this works without self-care. I mean, I got a massage therapist every week.
You got a
Got a
regimen now. We
therapist.
got a
I
regimen
go to the
now.
nail shop, and they're not cheap, not the cheap nail shop. They give me the whole salt scrub. Haven't been there in a while, but like I have a whole like tomorrow I'm going to drive somewhere out, probably to the peninsula, turn off my phone and just write and
Mm-hmm.
get shit and come to myself.
Necessary.
So I've been able right now. I'm barefoot on the grounding mat right now, recalibrating my
Nice.
energy.
Yep, getting that
So
energy.
so if you don't pour into yourself to make yourself happy and really dig down to figure out what that is,
For you,
um,
it's
yeah, for you,
specific.
yeah,
It's specific.
then you won't be able to really achieve that vision. What I found once I start loving me, I can do anything.
And everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
Uh, and you can be more genuine of you when you're not undone, when you're not leaving yourself undone. You can be genuine. You can't be genuine if you're not leaving yourself. If you're leaving yourself undone, you can't be genuine.
Yeah.
Shoo.
And it works. I mean, I like in therapy, I'm honest to say, well, coaching too, but therapy, I give my whole real life, everything, all my dirt, everything,
Uh-huh.
because I wanted to grow as me. And I live authentically.
Mm.
Now, I still have discretion because I don't want everybody in my business per se, but I live authentically as me now. And all
Yeah.
of that takes so much pressure. When I see friends now, every time I'm like, oh, you lose weight, you lost weight, you lost weight.
Hmm.
And they're like, how you do it? And my wife was embarrassed. She's like, I didn't want to tell anybody fast. I'm like, I'm not embarrassed. I'm doing alternative day fasting. This is what it does. It cures
Yep.
insulin resistance. It cures diabetes. It makes your body deal with the excess fat. Like for the first time in 8 years, the bottom of my stomach is going inside.
Mm.
My stomach, for the first time
Mm.
in 6 years, my chest is farther out than my stomach
Nice.
without me trying to hold it in or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
You getting back to self.
yeah,
Your body is getting back to your real self. It's real self.
and my knee pain is slowly going away. My back pain is gone. Um, Muscle aches are gone. My tendonitis is almost cured completely.
And so you
Uh,
have a ton of space now. Everywhere that doesn't hurt gives you space spiritually, gives you space mentally. Every time you're not just sitting in pain. Um, so I guess the last thing I would say, and we getting a little long, but it's all good. I think it's
okay,
good, and I think the people will ride out to the end on this one.
okay,
Um, the all this clear space now. You got clear space in your life, clear space in the marriage, clear space in your belt, clear space. What energies are you? What are you creating now? Tell people what are you up to creating now? Because you didn't do all this just to be looking cute in the mirror.
no, no.
No.
I'm creating two spaces.
Okay.
One, I'm creating space to enjoy life. Like I like to dance, ironically,
Mm.
like salsa, bachata. I was a
Hmm.
b-boy. I'm going back to capoeira pretty soon, or samba.
Nice.
I like to travel. I like amusement parks. I'm really focusing on and expressing my art. I'm really coming back into writing, really coming back into poetry. I'm also working on a book for the academic, since I finished my dissertation. That's where I am on the
Hold on 1 second. That's another thing. He got his doctorate during this
yeah,
time period.
yeah. I did get my doctorate during this time.
During this time period.
So,
Yeah. I just want to put
um,
that in there, by the way.
yeah. But the flip side is what I'm really creating now is a different level of business space. One
Mm,
of the things as a Black male professional,
mm,
we get taught entrepreneurship, but we don't get taught executive level understanding of business.
mm,
Entrepreneurship, for those who don't know, is the mechanism that creates profit. That's a value proposition that makes whatever business you're creating have value. Where being the executive consciousness is how you take that entrepreneurial vision and effectively grow and develop it to its maximum value and manage it during the process. And
mm.
so what I've been doing is I've taken my lending branch that I own with C2 Financial. I've taken my consulting company, JL Rosen Inc., and my management company, Veneri Group Inc., and I've put together a program to where I'm helping those who are professionals navigate how to position themselves in their company, in their personal space, to navigate things as far as financing and building their business, financing it and building their personal wealth, strategically bringing the right people in. And what it does is for each of my business units, because I'm adding value, it adds clients, it adds revenue, and
Yep.
it becomes this mutual beneficial thing towards also creating community. And I just started. I got a group in San Jose. They all want me to come talk to them about how to set up self-employed clients who make tons of money but have terrible corporate structure, and it makes them hard to buy property.
Yeah.
There's some other groups that I'll be working with in the healthcare side and how to navigate setting up their business that way. So that's what I'm headed for this year.
Awesome.
But it's 50-50 because the more space I make, the more I realize I have to have fun. And I have to
Yes.
enjoy
The
life.
fun. The fun gives you space too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and let me share another thing. Guess what? Who children have the most fun.
Yeah, they do.
And they also manifest the most things
They
with the
do.
least effort.
They
It
do.
might have to whine a little bit, but what kind of effort are they putting in? It's
Hmm.
because they're clear beings. So just remember, you're a clear vessel. You're being used by a higher power. Beautiful.
And I'm gonna add this, right? We'll talk about this more in my coaching call, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna add this. All this happening, all this achievement happening in one of the hardest and worst times of my life.
Yeah.
So I say
Yeah.
that to say, um, I went from being a custodial parent to taking full custody. I went from my closest grandmother died. I
Mhm.
went through having to manage certain things, all in this place of high adversity. Yet the vision was still there,
The vision
and
is
so I was so I was able to operate and feel what I need to feel, but I was able to move in it. And I have to say that because I don't want people to think, oh, like he just having a good run. No, fourth quarter in 2022,
yeah.
emotionally, physically, and spiritually,
Yeah.
was one of the hardest times of my life.
Mm-hmm.
But this process and this work we did made it productive and successful and a blessing in spite of all the pain, in spite
Yeah.
of everything I was carrying. So I want people to know, no, I was going through some real stuff, but I was still able to do. Because most people are like, oh, I lost the closest person, my grandmother, I would have gained 20 pounds from binge eating or drinking.
Yep. And then they just fold up life and take their bag and their ball and they leave the court.
Yeah.
Whereas you had the tools to say, nah, not only am I going to play, but I'm a yank. I'm going to come
Yeah.
with two hands on them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that has been that was the biggest thing. Huge amount of adversity on
Yeah.
every front in my church, work, family,
Mm.
and still I was not sitting in anxiety or fear, and it's still working. And I'm going to close out this January as one of the best Januaries in my history.
Nice. That is what self-mastery does, man. It gives you that ability to, no matter what the environment is, to show up, show out, and really be you. So salute to you
Oh, thanks to you.
for
Yeah.
even like choosing me as a guide, man. Like I feel honored to be a part of the journey, and you
Well,
know what it is, man. It's a brotherhood, man.
well,
So
no, but I look at results. I look at
mhm.
what people do. You've always been humble, but you've done some amazing things when
Yeah,
you were young, when you were where I don't mean you were putting in effort, but you were halfway trying compared to your abilities now.
yeah, halfway trying.
And and so I was like, if watching you move, I said, E40 said this, and I'm gonna tell you, no matter how educated, successful, whatever, E40 said this, and I'll never forget it. He said, you can learn from anybody, even a baby.
Mm,
And so
that
when
is
you
facts.
yeah, children humble, but so when you
Yep.
talked about what you were doing, your coaching, and I knew I needed something different.
Yeah.
When we really sat down and ran through this, I was like, yes. And every single session has been beneficial to another step in my life.
Nice. Man, my pleasure. My
Oh
pleasure.
no, no,
And
thank
thank
you.
thank you for your time, man, sharing what you got for people And so I guess last word on working with Dre, A Vision Lived, AVL. What would be? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways,
Oh, two thumbs up.
two
Because
thumbs
you
up.
know what? Like this is a long-term thing. Like this is
Nice.
a part of my business budget. Dre
Nice.
taught me, I'm gonna give some away that you taught me. Dre
Okay.
taught me two things. Every successful man and woman in business, especially when hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, they have two things: a therapist and a coach. And
Yeah.
Dre is my coach until he
Yeah.
doesn't want to coach me anymore. So that's what it is. And
Yep.
it is if you want that leg up, I definitely, talk to my man here because he knows what he's talking about.
Well,
That's all I can say without giving up any of the extra jewels you gave me.
oh man. Well,
All
thank you
right,
so
man.
much, Gilbert. And y'all, everybody, make sure that even if it's not with me, that you're investing in yourself and that you're being the best version of yourself possible, because every single one of us are cells that make this living organism called the planet work. And I love to be next to cells that are functioning at their highest capacity.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
All right, thank you. Peace. So I'm gonna cut off the recording.